Hi there. Let's talk today about some modal verbs. So another unit of grammar which is very interesting. What are the modal verbs? How to use them? Why we have them in the language? So what are modal verbs? Modal verbs are the verbs that show possibility, intent, ability, necessity, hypothetical conditions, capability, requests. All very complicated words that you need to translate if you don't know the meaning of them. Modal verbs are the type of auxiliary verbs. So help verbs. You know help verbs in a sentence like do, does, did, have, had, and so on. Obviously, there are more. Examples of modal verbs are can, could, may, might, will, should, must, have to. There are more than I have typed on the slide. So why do we have modal verbs? Modal verbs add more meaning to the main verb. They give a shade of the meaning. So not quite the meaning in itself, but a shade of the meaning. And they give us some flexibility. When do we use modal verbs? For example, if we want to express the likelihood of an action, we use the modal verbs should or must. For example, it's late. She must be sleeping now. It is very likely that she is asleep by now. If you prepare well for your job interview, you should get this job. It's very likely you will get the job if you prepare well for the interview, or if you prepare well for your exam, it's very likely you will pass it. You should pass it. If we want to express possibility, we need to use the modal verbs could, may, and might. I think it might be sunny today. Well, actually, it is very sunny today, so you wouldn't use the modal verb for this particular situation. But if you don't know, you would say might. We could go for a stroll if you like. If you want, we could. We could do something else. It's a possibility. You may become very famous one day. It's unlikely, but it's a possibility that could happen that you might be very famous or may become very famous. Let's take a look at some more. If you want to express ability of something, of one or another action, you use the verb can. I can speak 4 languages, but I would like to learn 1 more, meaning I can speak language 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever those languages are. This is my ability. I can swim well, but my brother cannot swim at all. So it's my ability. I can swim. You either can or cannot. You cannot say I swim like you would say in other languages, I swim. You need to say I can swim if you want to demonstrate your ability of doing something. Another example, Mary can't be responsible for this project. She lacks experience. It's not possible to do that. When we're asking for permission, we usually use modal verbs can, may, could. May I open the window? It's a polite way of asking if you can open the window. Could you speak up, please? So if a person is very quiet and you want him or her to speak louder, you can say politely, could you speak up, and add please in there. So now you're all covered. Can you give me this book? So, or can you pass me salt if you're sitting at the table? If you want to express a request, you would use modal verbs will, would, can, and could. Would you take your car to the repair shop tomorrow? Would you take your car? Because, I don't know, maybe it needs to be repaired. Could you please print out these slides for me? So I'm asking somebody to do the job for me. And can I offer you some help? I'm offering my help. Will you turn this music down, please? It's a request. want to express an advice, you would use the modal verb should. You should quit smoking. It's destroying your lungs. It's a very, very strong advice in this case, but it is an advice. Stop smoking or quit smoking because it's destroying your health. You should try making a to-do list to see what needs to be done. You probably do not see that because of my video. So how do we use modal verbs? Remember, modal verbs are the verbs that need special treatment. It's not the regular verb in a sentence. Modal verbs always need a main verb. Remember, they give only the shade of the meaning. I could speak Japanese when I was a child. This could means that this action happened in the past when that person was a child. He or she had the ability of speaking Japanese. Modal verbs are followed by an infinitive without to. For example, I might drop by your office later today. So might is a modal verb in here. Drop is a verb. You know that usually verb is, when you look it up in the dictionary, the infinitive of the verb is usually with a particle to. So to drop. In order to put it in a sentence, drop by would be the verb sentence, verb phrase. You need to remove to from it. So you cannot say, I might to drop by. I might drop by your office later today. Modal verbs do not take an S ending in a third person singular. For example, Brian might be made responsible for this campaign. So you cannot say might. You know the rule that we have, he, she, it, es muss, mit, right? It doesn't work like this. When you're using the modal verbs, you don't use an S ending in there. How do we use modal verbs? To ask a question, you reserve the order of the subject and the modal verb. Let's take a look at the example to make it clearer. Simone could make it on time. Could Simone make it on time? So basically, when you're making a sentence, remember that modal verb is a type of auxiliary verb. So basically, it moves to the first position to make a sentence, to make a question. So we have modal verb, which is a question word in this case. We have a subject, we have a verb, and we have the rest of the sentence. Use not to make a modal verb negative. For example, the new rules will not be different than the old ones. You also can say won't be different than the old ones. So you can make it short. Do you have any questions? I hope that was clear for you. If you have any questions, you know where to find me and what to do. Bye-bye.